This conference will now be recorded.
Right. So today I will start with we'll see how to create triggers. Okay, triggers. So this triggers you can assume if you take our normal ABAP, you can assume this triggers is like table level events. Okay, in our normal ABAP they are nothing but what table level events. So in SC11 after creating the database table, if you take custom tables, after creating the custom table we will generate what table maintenance. Okay, once a table maintenance is generated we can define and implement the events as part of our table level. Okay, so similar to this table level events, here we have something called as what triggers. Okay, so logically both are same. So trigger is also what a database object. So trigger is a event based database object. Okay, and it can be used for performing follow-up actions. Okay, so trigger is a event-based database object which can be used for performing what follow-up actions. And these triggers we can create only using what SQL editor. Okay, we cannot create that using what UI. Okay, so far we have seen one database object what a table. So this database table we can create either by using UI or by using what a SQL editor. Whereas this triggers cannot be created using UI, it should be created only using what a SQL editor. So the main purpose of this triggers is to perform what follow-up actions. Okay, so the usage of triggers is to perform the follow-up action. So as the name itself suggests, to perform follow-up actions with what suppose I am doing one action. Based on my action, some other action has to be performed. That is called as what? A follow action. And another thing is this trigger can be used to maintain what? Referential integrity. Okay, it can be used to maintain referential integrity between the tables. Referential integrity between the tables. So what do you mean by referential integrity? Yesterday we have seen foreign key constraint. Whenever we create the foreign key constraint between the two tables, SAP will maintain what? Referential integrity. What do you mean by referential integrity? When you try to delete a parent record, okay, automatically the corresponding dependent records are also deleted from what child table, provided if you have given on delete cascade. If you have given on delete restrict, it will not allow us to delete the parent record when there are corresponding child records. Similarly, what is the other point? Whenever you are inserting a child record in the child table, it will check whether any corresponding parent record is there in the parent table. If it is available only, we can create the record in what child table. That is the concept of what referential integrity. Now by using triggers, we can also maintain what referential integrity without creating the foreign key. Whenever we create the foreign key, automatically referential integrity is maintained. So without creating foreign key between the two tables, we can achieve the referential integrity by creating something called as what triggers. Okay. So let's take a simple example to understand these triggers. So basically, these triggers are defined on top of what? Database tables. Okay. So I'll create, let me open the SQL console. Alright, so this SQL console is open on behalf of Hana. So it's a set schema, then soft Hana. Schema is set for our session. Right. So what is the first example we'll say is we'll see this one to perform what follow-up action. Means I'll perform one action on a table. Based on that action, some other action has to be performed automatically. Okay. So for that purpose, let me consider a table and open the schema. So these are the tables available. Okay. So let me quickly create a table, like create column table, create column table. You can give any name. Let me give a table name as something audit. Create column table audit. I'll create some columns here. Let me give something username. I'll give it as varchar of 20, varchar of 20, and then I'll say oh, creation date and time. Creation date and time. I want to store the combination of date and time. So I'll go for what something called as a timestamp. We have a data type called as timestamp. Done. Done. Okay. Now the next requirement is I want to define both these keys as primary key. So one way is I can give primary key here. I can give primary key here also. This anyhow we know. Okay, we have to define the primary keys for individual fields. Instead of doing like this, let me define the primary key at once. So somewhere here in the table creation only, I'll say primary key, primary key. I want the combination of what? Username and what? That other column, creation, date and time. So username, comma, creation, date and time. Creation, date and time done. Let me close it. Yeah, right. I'll say F8. The table got error. What is the error I got? I'm sorry. There is here I have not closed the parenthesis. Okay. So varchar of 20 done. The table is what created. So if I refresh, the table got created. What is the table name? Audit is the table name. So if you open the definition, yeah, we have what primary keys, varchar and what timestamp. What is the internal data type it is taking for timestamp? Long date itself. Okay, done. Let me create another table. Yeah, I'll create another table. Create table. Let me go for normal column table. Create column table. I'll give the table name as something emp underscore trigger. Now here I'll use some columns like employee ID. Let me give it as int. I'll give primary key. And then employee name. Something varchar of what 20. Let me close the table. That's it. Let me execute this. Yeah, the table got created. The table got created. Now, the table got created. Yeah, what is my requirement now is, yeah, my requirement is, as of now, both the tables are what empty. Okay, both the tables are empty. Let me refresh. This is the other table, which has got two columns, employee ID and what employee name. So my requirement is, whenever I insert a record in this emp underscore trigger table, automatically a record should be inserted into what the other table called as what audit. Okay, I repeat, whenever I insert a new record in this table, Okay, automatically SAP should insert the record in what? The other table. So when you're inserting the record into other table, what are the fields I want? What is the data we are capturing? Username and creation date and time, means which user has created that record and which date and time the record has been created. Those two things should be inserted in the other table called as audit. So I am doing the action on what? EMP underscore trigger table. Automatically SAP has to do the follow-up action on what? Other table called as what? Audit, means I'm trying to maintain a log of the records. Whenever a fresh record is inserted in the EMP table, I want to capture which user and which date and time the record has been created. So that log I want to maintain in the other table called as what? Audit. Okay. So let's create that trigger now. So as I told you, a database table can be created either by using SQL console or by using what? UI. Okay, already we know we can right click on the table and I can say what? New table. But whereas this trigger can be created only using what? SQL item. Suppose here we have a what? Something called as triggers. If I expand this, I don't have any triggers. So I'll right click on the trigger. I will say new trigger. Do any new option here? No. So not every database object can be created using what? UI. So this trigger cannot be created using UI. It can be created only using what? A SQL console. So let me create. So how do you create here? Create trigger. Create trigger. You can give any name. I'll give the name as something audit log, audit logs. Okay. Create trigger audit logs. This is a syntax for that. Create trigger, trigger name. Okay. So what is that action you want? After action or before action? I want it after action. So I'll say after insert. These are all the keywords as part of the trigger. Create trigger, trigger name. After insert on which table? EMP underscore trigger. EMP underscore trigger for each row. For each row means for every new record. For each row, after insert and so on so begin and what? End. So this is like a block of statements. Okay, this is a business logic automated trigger. So what is the follow-up action you want to do? Whenever I insert a record on this table, what should happen? Automatically a record should be inserted into the other table called as audit. So I'll say insert into what is the table name? Audit. Insert into audit values. What are the two columns there? Username and what? Creation date and time. So just like we have what? In ABAP, if you take, we have something called as system fields. Size of RC, site ABIC, site if. Here also we have what? System variables. Okay. So I want to capture automatically the username. So I'll say something. We have a system variable called as current user, current underscore user, and what I want, the current date and time. So we have something called as current underscore timestamp. Current underscore timestamp. That's all. Current underscore user and current underscore timestamp. That's all. Okay. So this is nothing but what? An event kind of thing, just like table level event. Here also I'm trying to define the trigger. Okay. Let me execute this F8. The trigger got created. So if you refresh this, yeah, the trigger got created. This is a trigger audit logs. Okay, so I created two tables, then I created the trigger. Okay, so this is called as a row level trigger. We have something called as row level trigger and what a statement level trigger. Okay, whatever I am doing now is what row level trigger. Whenever I use the addition for each row, you have to understand that what row level trigger. Row level trigger, statement level trigger we'll see later on. So row level trigger and after insert and so on so for each row done. That's all. Okay. So as of now both the tables are empty now. Let me quickly check the data. So this is my audit table. Open data preview. I don't have any data in this. What is the other table? EMP underscore trigger. When I open the data, this table also doesn't have any data. So now I'll try to insert a record onto what? EMP underscore trigger table. So I'll say insert into what is the table name? EMP underscore trigger. Insert into EMP underscore trigger values. What are the columns in the EMP table? EMP ID and employee names. I'll give something one and something what Srinivas, one and something Srinivas, done. So we are trying to insert the record into what? EMP underscore trigger table. So what happens now? On execution of this insert statement, it creates a record in what? EMP underscore trigger table, and also the corresponding record in what? Audit table. Let, let me execute. I'll execute this. Yeah, okay. So I've inserted the table I've inserted the record into the table. So if you see this EMP underscore trigger table, this is my EMP underscore trigger table. If I refresh, I have the data once inverse. Let me check the audit table. When I refresh, yeah, automatically I got the username. I logged into which user, which database user, Hana, and I got the creation date and time, February 21, 2019. I got the time in what? Some milliseconds kind of thing. Okay, so now I'll try to insert multiple records. Insert into EMP underscore trigger values. I'll give something 2 and 3. Just to differentiate, I'll give different names. Okay, so I'll execute both the insertions at a time, no problem. So on execution of these two insert statements, what happens? SAP will create what? Two records in what? EMP trigger table, and also the corresponding records in what? Audit table. So when I execute F8, done, it got inserted. So if you see this table, EMP trigger, when I refresh, yes, I'm having the data. Let me check the audit table. I'll refresh. Yeah, so you can see here it got inserted. There is a slight change in the time in the nanoseconds. You can observe here. Okay, 54 5:19 p.m., 54 and 5:53 p.m. Because record will be inserted one after the other. Na? So there is slight change in the time. Now what I will do, I'll try to drop the trigger. I'll try to drop the trigger. So I'll say, what is this? How to drop trigger. What is the trigger name? Audit logs. Audit logs. Drop trigger audit log. So it will delete this trigger from the database. Okay, I'll say fetch. Yeah, trigger might have been dropped. Now I'll try to insert what? A new record. Okay. Suppose I'll say insert into EMP trigger values. I'll give something 4, comma, some name I'll give here. I'll give Pawan. So I'll try to execute this. So what happens now? When you execute this insert statement, it creates a record in EMP trigger table, but not in what? Audit table, because the trigger is dropped in the previous execution. So when I say F8, record got inserted in the EMP trigger table. When I refresh, it got inserted. If you see the audit table, if I refresh, nothing is happening there. So what is the meaning here? There is no follow-up action performed now because you have removed the trigger. Understood? It's a very simple example. So this is a simple example for what? Performing what? Follow-up action. So we'll be using these triggers elaborately going forward in the procedures, functions, many places. Okay. Just here I gave a glimpse of this. Right. Let us take one more example. Before I go to that, any questions, please ask me. I'll give one exercise. Let me know the answer tomorrow. Uh, in the last two sessions, we have discussed about the constraints. Okay, so we understand that. What is that? primary key constraints, not null constraints, and unique constraints. They are available in which view? They are available in a system view called as what? Constraints. Okay, constraints. Okay, similarly, we have seen yesterday what foreign key constraints. Okay, foreign key constraints, they are available in what? Yes, they are available in what? A system view. What is that system view where the foreign key constraints are available? Yes, referential underscore constraint. So we know that normal constraints are available in the system view constraints, and foreign key constraint is available in the system view referential underscore constraint. So now your R&D should be, okay, where I can identify the triggers. Okay, what is the system view or what is the table which can show me what? The triggers. So identify that. Okay, and let me know the answer. Right. Anyway, I'll cover that going forward, but you also try it from your end. So we have seen the example for what? Yes, selection. Trigger is only for tables. Only for tables. Only for tables. Here, when you say after insert, after delete, or before insert, so on. So here I have to give the table name. So basically, they are for table only. That's what is a table level events.
So what my question is, in case if the data posted in any flat file of the application server, then according to that, any table, in case if the target table has to be updated in that scenario, can we go for
Yeah,
trigger concept?
yeah, no problem. Anyhow, from the file also, we are trying to insert the records into the table. Na?
Hmm.
Okay, so we are doing the insert operation on the table, right? So whenever a new record is inserted on the table, this trigger will be fired.
When it is outbound, sir, like in case if it is in inbound, so that we can able to hit our database table. But when I am going to send the flat file to somewhere to legacy
No, no, here,
system,
here concept is not on file, concept is on table.
uh,
Whenever we perform DML operations on the table, DML operations, I mean to say delete, insert, update. Okay, for those three operations, these triggers will be fired only on the table, not on the file. You understood, Shilakshmi? Shilakshmi, is it clear?
uh, is okay, sir.
Yeah. It is not based on file. See, simple understanding. Here you are saying what? After insert on what? After insert on table name. So whether we insert the record manually like this or whether we insert the record from some other place, at the end the insert operation is performed on what table only. Na? So at that time the trigger will be fired. It is not based on the files. Whenever we perform DML operations on the database table, when I say DML operations, delete, update, and what? Insert. For those three operations only the triggers will be fired. Yeah. What is the other point related to the trigger? It can be used to maintain what? Referential integrity between the tables. So let's understand this. But should I take one sequence on this first? A sequence I'll cover later on. Yeah. I'll do one thing. Let me quickly consider some two tables. Yeah. I'll quickly create two tables. Create column table. Create column table. I'll give the table name as something T underscore department. T underscore department. Okay, let me give the column names as department number int primary key. Then department name of what? Varchar of what? 20. I'll quickly create the table. F8, table got created. I'll create another table. Create column table. Let me give the table name as something T underscore EMP. T underscore EMP. I'll give some columns here like what? EMP number. EMP number. Then I'll give something employee name. Sorry, employee name. Then I'll give another column like department number. Department number what? Integer. Done. The table got created. Let me execute this. The table is what created. So now I'm having got two tables, T underscore department and T underscore what? EMP. Okay. Now what I will do is I'll try to implement these triggers for point one. What is that referential integrity will do? Two things. What is the first thing here? To maintain referential integrity with two tables. So what is the first point here? Does not allow, okay, does not allow to insert what? Does not allow to insert child row, okay, in the child table when there is no, what? Corresponding parent record. When there is no corresponding parent row in what? Parent table. What is the second point in it to referential integrity? Does not allow, does not allow to delete, does not allow to delete what? Parent row from parent table. Does not allow to delete parent row from parent table when there are, when there are dependent child records, child rows in what? Child table. Okay, so in this context, I'll assume department as a parent table and EMP as a child table, because there can be any number of employees working in the same department and that department numbers are maintained in the other table. So let us cover what is the first point here. What is the first point? Does not allow us to insert the child row in the child table when there is no corresponding parent row in the parent table. So what is the meaning here? In the earlier example, I used a statement called as, while creating the trigger, I used a statement called the after insert. Means after successfully inserting the record, you are inserting a record in the audit table. Now what I have to do? Before I insert the record into this table, before I insert the record into this table, I need to check whether the corresponding record is available in the parent table. What is the parent table in this context? T underscore department. In case if it is not available, in case if it is not available, I need to stop the activity. Means I need to flash some error message to the user. Am I clear? So earlier I used after insert. Now what I have to do, I have to use it before insert, because if I say after insert doesn't make sense. It will be inserted in the table and then you are doing the check. No, before inserting that record into the database table, I need to check whether any corresponding parent record is there in the parent table. If it is not available, okay, I need to stop the activity. What activity? The insert activity. Okay, so I repeat once again, triggers are only on tables, not on files. Right, so let me try to create the trigger. Here the syntax is slightly different. Okay, so just observe here. Create trigger, create trigger. What I have to do? I have to check the department number. So I'll give a meaningful trigger name. Check underscore what? Department number. Create trigger check underscore department number. What I have to do here? Before insert on what table? T underscore what? EMP. Before insert on T underscore EMP. Okay. Before insert on T underscore EMP. Done. Next, I'll use a statement here. Referencing, referencing new row. You'll understand this. Let me complete. Referencing new row some reference name I have to give. I'll give the name as something my new row. Then I'll say for each row, done, begin and what end. Yeah. So, hmm, okay, okay. So, can anyone tell me how to write the logic now? Okay. Before I insert the record into this table, I have to check what are the record I am inserting, what are the record I am about to insert. I need to check whether the corresponding department number is available in the department table. So can anyone tell me what is the business logic I need to write? Just to give a clue, here what are the new insert, what are the new record, what are the new record I am trying to insert into this table is referred by using what reference name? My new row. I can give any name here. I can give ABC also, but I gave a meaningful name what? My new row. So what are the new data I'm trying to insert? What are the new data I'm trying to insert? For that, the alias, the reference name is what? My new row. So can anyone tell me the logic? Same thing we'll do it in normal ABAP also. Yes, anyone?
Do we need to read the table here?
We need to
The read the table that we are inserting the department number.
we have to read
I think
Select.
how to
existing.
select.
I
Correct.
don't know
So
the yeah.
yeah, correct. So
I
I
think
need to check. I need to check whether
whatever it is.
that
Yeah.
record is available in the T underscore department table. How do you check? Only by using what? Reading the table. How do you read the data? By using what? Select statement. Okay. So what I'll do is I need to check the count. There should be at least one record. There should be at least one record. So what I'll do is this is my block only now. So in this Hana, we can declare the variables by using a keyword what? Declare. Just like we use data keyword. Okay, here in case of this HANA database, inside the block definitions, I can use a keyword or declare. We can give any variable name. I'll declare it as CNT, INT, integer. So I declare a variable called as count of type what? Integer. So what I'll do here, select. So just like normal ABAP, okay, we have some aggregate functions, count, max, min, average, min, something like that. Okay. So here we have an aggregate function called as count. Select count of star. Select count of star. 1 second, please. 1 second. I'll switch on my laptop here. Yeah. So select count of star into what? What is the variable I declared? CNT, yeah? Into CNT from which table? From what is the existing table? T underscore department where what is the column here for department table? Department number, where department number is equal to equal to yeah, the new record what you are trying to insert in this table, it is referred by using what reference, what alias? My new row. So I'll say equal to my new row, okay, dot, what is the column here? Department number. Here also it is not department number. It can be any column name here, but in this case the column name is same. My new row dot department number. My new row dot department number. That's all. Select count of star into CNT from T underscore department where department number equal to my new row dot department number. Is it valid? Yeah, correct. My new row department number. So what I'll do now immediately after the select statement, here we have what? Conditional statements. I'll say if count is equal to 0. What is the meaning? My select has not fetched any count value. So count will be equal to what? 0. And if count equal to 0, what I have to do? I have to stop the activity. I have to stop the activity. So I need to flash some message to the user, some exception message to the user. So again, if you go back to our ABAP object-oriented principles, okay, ABAP object-oriented principles, we can work with standard exceptions. We can also go forward creating what user-defined exceptions. If you take a user-defined exceptions concept, what is the procedure for user-defined exceptions? First, we need to declare the exception. Then we need to raise the exception at the appropriate place. Raise the exception at the appropriate place. Here also, I want to raise the user-defined exception. So I'm covering exception handling also in this triggers. Okay, so what I'll do now, I want to raise the exception. So first of all, I need to declare the exception. If you again go back to our object-oriented concepts in ABAP, there we'll declare the exception by using the keyword exceptions. Exceptions followed by what? Your exception name. And we will raise the exception by using a keyword called as raise. This I'm talking in our normal ABAP code in object-oriented. So here I need to declare the exception. How do we declare the exception? Declare, I'll give the exception name as, you can give any name. I'm giving my own name, my exception. Okay, declare my exception condition for, declare my exception condition for what? SQL error code. You'll understand that after a couple of examples. Declare my exception condition for SQL code. I'll get as something what, 10,000. Okay, yeah, 10,000 done. Next, if count equal to 0, this is nothing but exception code. Okay, the user-defined exception codes. The user-defined exception codes will range from 10,000 to 19,999. User-defined exception codes will range from 10,000 to 19,999. That's why I'm giving what, 10,000. Done. When going forward, we'll be discussing the standard exceptions. Those standard exception codes will range from 1 to 9,999. 9,999. So here I have to raise the exception now. So in our ABAP we use raise keyword. Here we use something called a signal. You can compare signal similar to what raise. Signal, what is my exception? My exception. While raising the exception, we can associate the exception message. We can associate the exception message. So again, if you go back to our object-oriented principles, there if you want to capture the exception message, by using that exception class object, we use something called as get text and get long text. If you know the exception class cx underscore root, we have some what methods get underscore text which will return the short exception message, get underscore long text which will return the long exception message, get underscore source position which will return the information on at which place the exception is raised. So here signal my exception, set message underscore text is equal to what you want to flash. I want to flash what? No parent record. No parent record. Done. End if and what? Yeah. Okay, let me cross check the code. Create trigger name before insert. If I say after insert here, doesn't make sense. Means it will insert the record in the table and then it will do the check. But I want to do it before insert only. So before inserting on the table, and whatever the new record you are trying to insert, okay, that I am referring. It's a new record only, na? Okay, that I'm referring by using the reference name, alias name what, my neuro for each record. Then what I did here, I'm trying to get the count from the department table, comparing with the department number which you are trying to insert freshly in the EMP table. Done. If count equal to 0, I'm raising the user defined exception. Okay, done. Okay, shall I execute? Yes, done. Let me execute now. I'll say F8. invalid identifier my new row. Invalid identifier my new row in the line 8. In the line 8. So line 8. What is the line 8 here? I selected this 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In the 8th line, I am getting the error. Invalid identifier. Okay. So yeah, this should be prefixed with colon as part of the syntax. You have to prefix with colon. This is called as bind variable. You have to prefix with colon, I believe. Let me check. I would say F8. Done. The trigger got created. Trigger got created. One second, I'm having the mic issue. Just hold on, please. Okay. Yeah, is it audible now?
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
Okay, fine. Right. So now let me try to insert the record into this table. What is the signature of this table? It has got 3 columns: employee number, employee name, department number. Done. So what I will do is here I will say insert into. So as of now you can see these two tables doesn't have any data. Let me quickly close these tables. Yeah, let me open these two tables, T underscore department and T underscore EMP. Yeah, if you see this T underscore department table, it is blank, and T underscore EMP also is not blank. Done. So what I'll do is first quickly let me insert the records into the department table. Insert into what is the table T underscore department values. What are the two columns in that? Department number and department name. So I thought of discussing sequence and attaching it, but I'll discuss that tomorrow. Insert into department values. I'll give the department name as something SAP. 10, 20, 30, Oracle, and Java. So I'm inserting 3 records in the department table first. Let me execute. Yeah, it might have inserted. So if I refresh, I got what? 3 records: 10, 20, and what? 30. SAP, Oracle, and Java. Done. Now I'll try to insert the record into the employee table. Okay, what are the 3 columns in the employee table? Employee number, employee name, department number. So I'll say insert into what is the table name? T underscore EMP. Values, I'll give the employee number as 1, Raju, and I'll give something 20. Okay. So what is the new record I'm trying to insert in the employee table? 20. Na? So before inserting in the EMP table, before insert is there now, so there's a trigger available based on before insert. So it will check the existence of this 20 in the parent table. Since we have it in that parent table, what should happen? It should allow me to insert. Let me check. F8. Yeah, it has inserted. If you go and check the EMP table, what it has got inserted, 1 Raju 20. Let me try to insert one more record. I'll go to Ravi and let me give it as something 30. This also should be allowed to be inserted. It has inserted. So if you check the EMP table, when I refresh, I got what? So and so done. I'll try to insert one more record. I'll give 1. Sorry, it's a primary key now, so I cannot give duplicate employee IDs. So 3 Ramo. Let me get as 20. This also should be allowed. Yes, it is inserted. Okay, 3 records are inserted without any problem. Now I'll try to insert. I'll try to insert 4. I'll give the employee name as Pavan. I'll give the department number as 40. So do we have this 40 in the parent table? No. So my select will be failed. It will not return any count value. Count will remain what? 0. By default integer is what here? 0. So let's check what happened. So I'm trying to do the insertion now. I'll say fit. Good. Good. So you can see here, I got some error here. See the error message at the bottom. What is the error message? User defined error. I mean to say user defined exception. User defined exception. What is that? No parent record. So I got a message here saying that no parent record. Am I clear to everyone? Okay, so I said before insert, I'm declaring the user defined exception. I'm raising the user defined exception at the appropriate place. Means whenever a select is not returning any count, if the count is equal to 0, what I'm doing, I'm raising the exception. Hope it's clear to everyone. Can we debug this? Yes. Okay. So again, for that we have to switch to a debugging perspective. So just give me some 1 or 2 days time, because there are other people who are going to join after 1 or 2 days. Okay, again, if I start, there will be problem for them. So anyhow, this blocks example will go on for next 1 week to 10 days. We'll be continuously discussing procedures, functions, cursors, triggers. Okay, we need to debug the code. So how to debug? We'll start maybe after 1 or 2 days. Any questions on this aspect, please ask. Sri Lakshmi, is this clear now?
Yes, sir.
Triggers are always created on table. So remember that point. Now, if you have time, can you try the logic for the second one? What is the second one? It should not allow us to delete parent record. Okay, it should not allow us to delete the parent record when there are corresponding child records. So how do you write the logic? Anyone? Should I say after delete or should I say before delete? Yes. Anyone?
Before delete.
Before delete. And here what I have to do? Old row. Here you have to say what? Old row, because
Okay.
deletion is always performed on what? Existing data. Na? So here you have to say what? Old row. Okay, and then do the same thing here. How do you check? Select count of star into so and so, where department number equal to that old row reference dot department number. If count is greater than 0, if count is greater than 0, you try to stop the activity by flashing the exception message. So same thing. Okay, try to do that. Okay, if you don't get it, I'll do it. And one more thing is, here only I'll try to cover sequences here. Every time when I'm inserting the employee data, I have to give the employee number. Now I don't want that. Whenever I insert a new employee record, automatically it has to pick up the old employee number. Automatically it has to pick up the old employee number, and it has to generate the next employee number. So that part is part of sequence that I'll discuss tomorrow. And the second point also, you try to do it. If you don't get it, I'll cover that. Right? So
You
far, yeah,
you kept semicolon before my new row, right, in the select query.
no, not semicolon, colon. column.
In column.
Yeah, it's a part of the syntax. We call it as bind variable. Initially, I didn't get the column, so I got some error. Na? What is the error I got? Invalid identifier, something like that.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
invalid identifier. So
Okay.
in the blocks, just remember like this. In the blocks, whenever we write this select statement equal to, when you're comparing with the right hand side value, you prefix that with what call. It's a part of the syntax. We call it as bind variable. Initially, I tried it without colon, but it is clearly giving error. Invalid identifier. It will not recognize that. So to refer to that reference, I have to prefix with what colon.
Fine.
Yeah. And size awards it will not recognize here, na Kishore. It's not the code which gets executed in the application server. Na. If the code is getting executed in the application server, I would have used the size awards. The code gets executed where? In the Hana database. Na. Sure, is it clear? Size awards I can't use it here because
Okay.
this code is not getting executed in the application server. It will get executed where? On the Hana database itself. So code pushed an approach. We are pushing this code at the database level. So it will not recognize that size awards kind of thing here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see many examples going forward. We'll see around 15-20 examples going forward based on these blocks. We'll cover each and every scenario, the syntaxes, this columns, and here I just gave a glimpse of exceptions. Okay, but there is much more to discuss on this exception. Today I just covered the syntax for declaring the exception and syntax for raising the exception. So more about this exception handling we'll be covering in the next 1 week as part of procedures, functions, all this. This exception handling is very important whenever you're writing the set block of statements. Everywhere where you write the business logic, in all those places you have to go for this exception handling. The way we handle exceptions here is different, and the way we handle exception normal ABAP is different. Okay, and I gave this 10,000. So more about these exception codes we'll understand going forward. As of now, just remember the range for user defined exception code will be from 10,000 to something what 19,999, and for system defined exceptions it will be from 1 to 9,999. Okay. Today I got late. It's my mistake. I got up early. Yesterday I got late. Okay. So sorry. So tomorrow we'll try to start by 6. Done?
Nice.
Any questions?
No.
Acha, anyone got chance to work on that not null issue? Anyone tried? Practically, not theoretically, on the system. Start practicing. If you're not started, please start practicing. Then you'll get more questions. Okay. So we'll continue tomorrow. We'll see another examples on triggers, and as part of that only, we'll discuss sequences tomorrow. Done? So I'm winding up for today. I'm having another class. We'll continue tomorrow.
Bye everyone.
Yeah, shalom.